There's a lot going on here, Luke, and let's just break this down because this is more than just about a stock rising here. There's a lot of activity in the options market, which seems to be driving the actual shares higher and higher every day.
Yeah, it's an interesting story just because it is a company again that has not a lot of float, not a lot of shares restricted. Also has high degree of short interest. Also a story stock that you can really kind of wrap your heads around. So just to kind of contextualize the amount of options trading, even at the peak for Tesla, if you were doing call volume share equivalent traded, so that it would amount to about 50% of the shares on its most crazy day, which I think was February 4th. With Virgin Galactic, you're seeing 80%, essentially the call volume traded on a daily basis. And so it's really taken over the stock. And a lot of this seems to be being driven by retail crowd, message board type activity that does kind of harken back to the good old days of the 90s.
So you mentioned the message board effect. Is it coordinated to some extent? They're like, all right, we're going in on Virgin Galactic this week. And is that coordination, because of the low float and because of the heavy short interest, can they sort of coordinate to manufacture a move?
So it's kind of been interesting to watch because a few weeks ago it was more kind of unilateral. You just see someone make the case for Microsoft calls, and then people upvote it. You'd see kind of a coalescing around it. Now it's like let's get a schedule together on which stocks, which days. Hey everyone, let's get together. Which stock do we think we should be buying tomorrow? So the degree of coordination is getting better, I guess some could say, and also, when you look at it from this perspective, the more you're doing it with names like Virgin Galactic or names like Plug, the ability to have an effect is going to be greater. Of course, at the same time, if you're coordinating your activity with a lot of people, that probably means you're not getting as low a premium on the calls than if you were just kind of going in yourself. So there is something of a trade-off.
You got to subscribe to those premium chat rooms where they talk about it.
So obviously this rise, this is almost a definition of parabolic that we've seen over the past couple of months. So I guess the question is, given how this is being worked on the options side, is the drop, the inevitable drop, what I presume is going to be inevitable, is it going to be as severe as the rise up, or are we just talking maybe some of these gains get trimmed off a bit and then it finds some sort of plateau?
I mean, who really knows? But one kind of, in thinking through the mechanisms of how this could slow down, so one of the popular memes right now is that essentially back in the 90s, right, you just had to imagine some greater fool was going to bail you out of your position. In the minds of some of these people, they are creating their own greater fool through the mere purchase of the call option because the dealer has to delta hedge. That's the thinking behind this. And kind of if you kind of translate this forward, for them to monetize positions and then rebuy calls at a higher strike, that would be a net sale of delta into the market. So even kind of by their own logic, there is a limiting factor on their own success, and it could be how they monetize or roll positions.
It's got like an $8 billion market cap, Virgin Galactic, basically no revenue. But what about 2030 revenues? How does the multiple look there?
2030.
I can't say I've done the long-term valuation case on SBC.
Well, maybe all these people who are making money, then they can buy tickets for this space flight.
There you go.
It's only $250,000. And then that would propel the multiple.
To be clear, in the underlying point we're making or not making, there was a great thing yesterday on a thread of somebody kind of pitching Microsoft calls around the dividend, didn't know the ex-div date had passed, and said, you know what, I'm still going to do it anyways, and stock was up on the day, so who cares?